Hello, today we're going to talk about how we can use the fourfold path to forgiveness to set ourselves free from the pain of our trauma, from parental narcissistic abuse and other relational traumas that we've suffered, so that we can have more control over our happiness in our lives. We can be on our recovery and healing process, and we're no longer bound by the effects of the trauma. Um, in this video, I'm going to be talking about what forgiveness is not. That's chapter 2 of the book of forgiving, the Fourfold Path for Healing Ourselves and Our World. It's by Desmond and Mpho Tutu. This book has 10 chapters. I'll be doing a video for each chapter going through this process of forgiveness. My name is AnalaLove, and my channel builds community to support you in your recovery process from parental narcissistic abuse and complex PTSD by sharing the truth about parental abuse, its long-term effects, and also some tools that may help you in your recovery process going from post-traumatic disorder to post-traumatic growth. Forgiveness is not easy for any human. It doesn't matter what your faith is, whether you believe in unconditional forgiveness or not, whether you're an expert on forgiveness, whether you've written books about forgiveness. If it is not easy to do for any human. So if you are having a hard time, if it doesn't come easy for you to forgive, it's understandable. So and also I want to say that, and I address it in another video, that as survivors of parental narcissistic abuse, forgiveness is not something that we rush or we force. It's something that approaches us in our healing path, our recovery path. So any approach or thought of forgiveness before we are ready on that path, before it approaches us on our healing path, it is not going to have the healing effects that it can have for us. And that is the kind of therapy, if you are a survivor of parental abuse, of relational trauma, if you have complex PTSD, forgiveness in this way is a therapeutic forgiveness for us, for our benefit. And it must be something that comes to us in our path of healing, and some things have to happen in our healing path before we're able to even think about forgiveness. And I talk about that in a different video, where it's shrinking the inner critic and building the compassionate self, starting the process of repairing ourselves before we're even ready to even start thinking about therapeutic forgiveness for our benefit. And it's something, like I said, it's something that approaches us on our path, and not something that we force or we need to feel like we need to do. So in the book, it talks about how forgiveness is not a weakness. It's not for the faint at heart. It takes a lot of strength, and it takes a lot of courage to forgive in this way. It's not a decision that we make. Some of us were taught that it's something you just do automatic. As soon as you can, you forgive. Now we're talking about some real transformational healing that heals us and even can set free the person that we are forgiving. It requires a lot of courage and strength, and it also, it doesn't mean you don't get angry again. If you're on the path of forgiveness and you've done some work and you find yourself getting angry again, if you have the memories crop up or you get triggered, that doesn't mean you haven't forgiven. That was said in the chapter 2. Forgiveness is not a subversion of justice either. It creates the space for justice to be enacted with a pure purpose that does not include revenge. It makes a space for it. And the book also says that, outside of the realm of narcissistic abuse, Say the injustice was done to you. Say somebody violated a law and took something from you, or hurt you, or harmed you, or someone you love, and say did they went to jail or prison and they served their time or whatever uh, punishment that they did, and they completed their sentence, they've done the punishment, and justice has been served. The book talks about how even after justice has been served, um, no one, the perpetrator and the victim of the perpetrator, no one hasn't found a route to a new beginning. There's still pain and anguish, and the story hasn't ended. And so the only way out of that, to start a new beginning, is forgiveness. Now, this is outside of the realm of narcissistic abuse. There's no forgiveness is just a one-way path for us, for our healing process. But outside of that, when someone does a harm to us, or to start a new beginning, forgiveness is that route. Forgiveness also isn't forgetting. Some people think that forgiveness involves pretending the harm didn't happen, or it wasn't as bad as it was. The opposite is true. The opposite is true. Forgiveness can only happen in absolute truth and honesty, or else it's not forgiveness. It's not real. And it requires giving voice to the violation that's done to you and naming the pain that we've suffered. It requires that, and we don't sugarcoat it, we don't hide it, we don't minimize it. It's utter, absolute truth. That has to happen for the forgiveness to be real. And so, and it also says forgiveness, it doesn't require that we carry our suffering in silence. It doesn't require us being martyrs on a cross of lies. Now, many of us, as survivors of parental narcissistic abuse from our parents and our family, has been trained to do just that, be a martyr on a cross of lies. And, especially if we're the scapegoat. And that's not forgiveness. That's not forgiveness. Forgiveness doesn't require that we carry that suffering in silence and be a martyr on the cross of lies. That's not forgiveness. You don't need to pretend anything. You don't have to forget what was done for you to forgive, And in romantic relationships, a lot of us have been in relationships where they'll, do something, apologize, and then time will go on and they'll do it again. And if we recall the previous time they do it, they'll say something like, "Why are you bringing up the past?" Well, because you're doing the same thing again. And obviously it's a problem and it needs to be brought to the light. There's a problem here. You're doing it again. I thought we got past it, but you're doing it again. There's a problem there that we need to address. And people will say, "Why are you bringing up the past?" to manipulate us. So they're not held responsible for their transgression. There's also always a risk. There's always a risk when we forgive, that everything will not turn out all right. And this is outside a narcissistic abusive relationship. We're not trying to reconcile with a narcissistic abuser. But any other type of relationship where we take the forgiveness process, there's no guarantee that everything's going to turn out all right. It's a leap of faith. It's the same type of leap of faith that we take when we enter into a love relationship. We make that a commitment to someone. We take the chance that we may get hurt again. It's the same type of leap of faith. It doesn't mean everything's going to turn out all right. Forgiveness isn't easy. It doesn't mean we minimize the complexity that and the work that's involved in the forgiveness process. There's 4 steps to the forgiveness process. It's telling our story as long as we need to. It's naming our hurts until it no longer pierces our heart. It's granting forgiveness when we're ready and we have let go of the past that can't be changed. And then it's reconciling or releasing the relationship as we choose. Now, if in case of narcissistic abuse, parental narcissistic abuse, or any kind of narcissistic abuse, there is no reconcile. We release the relationship because of the abuser is not able for some reason to change their ways. So we just release the relationship. I want to note that the first video, chapter 1, and I spoke on these 4 steps. I had the first 2 messed up. I said in the first video that the first step is acknowledging the harm, and the second one was telling our story. Actually, it's telling our story, the first step. Second step is naming our hurts. So I just wanted to highlight that. Forgiveness isn't quick. You know, I know in growing up in the Christian faith, they say, you forgive. It's like an automatic, you always forgive. And it's not real forgiveness, especially if you are surviving something, egregious transgression, especially long-term abuse, long-term covert abuse by your parents, family, other kind of egregious abuse. It's not something you just do, you know? So it can take several journeys through the cycles of remembering and grief before we can truly forgive and be free. It's not easy, but it's a path to healing. In this way, our suffering, our pain, our losses have the power to transform us. Great good can come from sorrow. So in the next chapter, chapter 3, I'll be talking about chapter 3, the understanding the fourfold path, where we go deeper to understand the 4 steps of the forgiveness path. I've put a link to the book in the description in case you want to buy a copy, or there's also the choice of an audiobook if you prefer. If I missed anything about forgiveness that you would like to add, please do so in the comments. If you're reading this book or you read the book and you would like to comment and start a conversation, please do so in the comments. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and click the notification button so you're notified when I upload a new video. If you think this video can be beneficial to someone else, please share it. Thank you for watching.